Hello, angels. Welcome to another episode of Brown Girl Unscripted. I'm so excited that you're here and listening, whatever you may be doing today, tonight, or whatever time zone you're in right now. But it's your girl Rucha, the host of the podcast. On today's episode, we have a special guest. Her name is Sabrina Lassegue. She is an actress, model, director, and content creator. Welcome to the show, Sabrina.
Hi, thank you for having me.
How's your day going?
Good. I'm on the West Coast right now, so it's 10:59. So my day is kind of starting. Well, I've been up since 5, but it's like, you know what I mean? It's like still have the rest of the day to go, but yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Also, got to reference, so I'm recording I'm here in the East Coast and she's in the West Coast. So it is like 1:59 p.m. here, and it's like she said 10 close to 11 now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so sick. You said you woke up at 5 a.m., girl?
Yes.
Oh my God. What's like today? I know you when we were talking offline, you mentioned how you have like a thing you do starting 5 a.m. every day. What was that thing for today specifically?
Today was yoga. I'm going to the gym. So that 5 a.m. I usually wake up, I try to be off my phone for that time. So just like meditation, or I'd say like on a different day or week, like this week I haven't done it at all, but usually it's like surfing. Like I'll head to the beach at like 5 a.m., go surf or go to boxing. Totally depends. And yeah, but today was yoga in the gym.
I love that. Do you for a lot of people, this would be super intimidating? You have a thing that you did or use or whatever to get yourself to a point where it's I'm gonna go at 5 a.m. This is what we're gonna do to make it every day?
I went to a performing arts college and we had classes at like 7 a.m. This is something I've been doing for like 6 years. Wow. I was kind of doing it before college a little bit because also just high school, I was taking classes at the local community college as well while I was in high school. So I'd go there before I'd go to my high school classes sometimes. So I'd have to be up early. But in college, at my performing arts school, we had class like at 7 sometimes, and if you were a minute late, you got counted as late, and basically you weren't allowed to be late more than twice or you got kicked out of a class. And it's a super strict curriculum and they're prepping you for the real world, and I think they did a really good job with that because that's kind of how I would deal with that. And mind you, like my dorms, I went to school in New York City. My dorm wasn't anywhere near the campus. My dorm was 25 blocks away. So we'd have to get from 25 blocks to the school by 7. And so on top of that, have rehearsed and everything. Like I think I was starting my first semester with a dance class in the morning at like 7 in the morning. And so I had to always rehearse before, stretch beforehand, make sure I got there early, like was hydrated, everything, ate breakfast. So I was waking up at like 4 a.m., 5 a.m. and getting across town, especially like New York City winters. And when the train wasn't working, it was like a lot of like running, hope I don't fall and break a leg on ice.
Oh my God, yeah, that's the worst. New York City or just any city, black ice on the floor like that, it's the worst when you're rushing because you don't see that and then boom.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Not a fun time.
Yeah. What was the performing arts school that you went to?
I went to AMDA, and then I went to AMDA for college, and simultaneously went to another school. While I was at AMDA, then I went to AMDA New York, then transferred to AMDA LA, and then this past year I went to Juilliard for their extension program. Yeah.
Okay, girl. So she said I went to 3 colleges. That is sick. I mean, so that must have been a lot to balance at once. You said doing 2 curriculums at once, you said basically, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, spill the tea. How did you do that? Because honestly speaking, that even just one curriculum, I went to engineering school and that was a lot. What? Yeah, how was it too? Especially if you say that it's as strict, it's so strict for one, then I can imagine for the other one it's also super strict. What was that like?
Yeah, the other one was a more traditional school, not too far away from actually the side of town that my dorms were on. I was only taking part-time classes there, so they were super accommodating. They have a school of general studies there that allows you to kind of, for the non-traditional student, so that kind of allowed me to do multiple things at the same time and work with around my schedule of what I was doing with other school. That was, yeah, it was a very tedious experience, but and task, but it was worth it, I'd say, like very fun and a great experience overall. Yeah, it wasn't like I was doing full time both of them, but AMDA was my primary school, and then I was just taking additional classes over there.
Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. So, were you doing like general studies there, the same like the performing arts courses?
No, so I was studying communications as well as philosophy over there. And like
Okay.
tiny, like I took a half a class of marketing, but it was like communications and
Yeah.
philosophy.
Wow, that's pretty cool. And through like the courses you took, and then you said going to Juilliard after, it's like what was like, were you like working during that time also, or was it just school?
I mean, kind of. We're not supposed to be like auditioning for stuff or working in the industry while we're in school, but I was definitely doing that. I,
Don't tell anyone.
like they're very aware now because like they've seen like stuff that I was doing while I was in college or like other interviews that I've done talking
Yeah.
about it. And like also just like I'd run into professors like out at auditions and stuff and things like that. So that was just a whirlwind. Yeah. So
Yeah. Wait, why aren't you allowed to audition during school?
so you're basically a reflection of your school. It's like pretty much all performing arts schools. Not yeah, pretty much all performing arts schools are like this. Even my friends, I had a friend who was, I say friend, yeah, I had a friend who was at
Friend.
USC's School of Music, and he's a drummer, and he like went on tour, opening for Gracie Abrams with Alex Page. I'm like, he was telling me like this was like years ago. He was like, they were upset with him too for going on tour and telling him like you can't be in school and you can't also be on tour. Um, so that's a thing. It's just very like I think you are a reflection of the school. So if you suck and you're out there auditioning, they're like, oh well, you're at USC.
Oh, like that. Okay.
If you're doing well, I don't know. Like Juilliard's kind of the same way. One of my other friends, he booked a Netflix show. He was acting. He was at Juilliard with dance, and they were like, we're gonna have to kick you out of the school if you're acting and you're here. You have to pick one." Same thing with NYU. Another one of my friends booked Netflix, was at NYU. Same thing. USC. Same thing with Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's just a very common thing. Like I don't
Wow.
know. You'd think it'd be like a good thing for the school, but it's not. I think it also is just like if you are doing well, then you're technically it's like falling into the category of like, oh, did you even need the school because you're like a freshman and you're booking this without the training, so you didn't do 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn. It's like that's crazy to hear because like high key like experience under your belt while you're in school, like it's kind of having like an internship kind of, right? Like you're like those opportunity internship that's like like work opportunities basically. So
Yeah.
you would think like that's like a super positive thing for the school. Like we have such smart students.
No, they're like, stop that now.
Stop that now. Oh my God. Okay. Well, so since you did, you were like, what, I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna go do my own thing and be a total girl boss. I know you worked on a lot. Like, what were the things that you like, what got you started on your very first project?
Ooh, very first project. I don't remember. Very first project. Well, my very first project was like pre-college. I'd say like I was a high schooler in New York City, and I think I was directing. I also went to college as a minor, so actually it might not have been high school. I might just be thinking that it was high school. I don't know. Like,
Oh, it's the fair answer, yeah.
I actually don't know. I'd say like very first project living alone as like I guess adult slash like 17-year-old in New York City was probably just like stuff that I was applying for, like cold emailing people about. Like I'm very thorough with cold emails, and I think I've always been that way. So just like probably stuff I was cold, like I was doing like YouTube skit directing for a little bit, and I was getting paid like $200 for like coming in to direct some YouTube skits, and I was like taking it so seriously, and I was like, this is a job. Like I'm gonna to take this seriously and put this on my resume. And I think like just like acting wise, I was always taking class. So like even in the summer, I was like taking classes at UCB and just studying with Second City and just focusing on improv as much as possible. And then I was doing like commercials and things like that. I grew up like doing commercial work and print work. So it was just like continuing that and doing that. I was taking dance classes still, which was hard because like I got injured basically and like couldn't dance. Or like originally I would have gone to college for dance at Juilliard, and that like all fell apart.
Oh,
But I continued to like take classes whenever I could, like new styles like hip hop, things like that that don't require as much like technique and flexibility. They're still technique based, but they're a little more free falling, I guess.
yeah.
So I was just kind of always training and always reaching out to people and kind of staying ready for things. Like I always had headshots ready to go, like resume updated, my reel updated, things like that. I think I was doing a bunch of short films too. Yeah, I was doing like NYU short films at the time.
That's
Um,
sick.
I'd get like hired and get paid like $150 to go like act in some. Usually it was some like crazy concept. I think I did one film where it was like I played a grape, and it was like this boy brings a grape to life. It was like
I love that. Oh my god, we love a great moment.
whole like crazy concept they had going on those student films, and then like I think I got one finally that was like made sense with what I want to actually play in, and I put that on my acting reel, like threw it up, and then from there I started getting auditions and like getting brought in a lot more for different things.
That's fire. Dude, I love that. Like, I can imagine like the whole process like must have been like super just like a lot to do, right? Even like I started modeling a couple years ago, and even that has it's a lot of work to be able to get
Yeah.
yourself out there and like get like real experience. So it's like through all this, like what's your mental health been like, like in managing that? Because I mean, clearly you're super ambitious, you have all these like projects, like you're doing a lot. Like what has it been like balancing out like the ambition with the self-care? Because I mean, like shit, like that can easily lead to burnout.
Absolutely. I think it only got like my self-care only got good recently. Like I'd say like understanding burnout is real and all of that is only kind of been the past year, I think, with the strike, kind of making me re-evaluate a lot of how I handle things and how like what affects me and what I need to do for myself in order to take a break, and also the concept that a break is okay. Like I think I'm 23 years old right now, and for me I've just always kind of been involved in the industry and doing things and like very like straight A student and like like doing
Yeah.
all like involved in everything and very active in community, and I just want to tackle everything all the time. And as a child, I was like very gifted, involved in all sides of the arts, and just like very push yourself to the fullest type thing, especially being a dancer. But for me, I think it's only recently I was like, oh, I'm 23 and like was looking around, and I think like someone had tagged me in something, and it was like I'm one of the youngest whatever like directors or whatever to do. I forget what the heck it was. It was something very specific, and I was like, really? And I'm like looking at, like these people like that I love, I look up to, that I'm at the DGA with and everything, and I think I always feel like pressure to amount to things at the same way that they did, the same level, their same trajectory, only to find out that they didn't have that trajectory and I made that up completely. So I was like, oh, what do you mean Ava DuVernay started making films at like 30 or 40 years old? I was like, what? What?
That's real. Yeah.
Career beforehand. And I was like, oh, I just like a lot of my peers, all my peers are older than me. I don't have a single friend. That's a lot. Actually, I have one friend who is younger than me. I don't have a single like friend who's around my age who I spend a genuine amount of time with. I think everyone around me is always older. I'm friends with a lot of people I work with who are all older than me, and they forget my age as well. And then sometimes I'm having a meltdown about like, I'm gonna do this, da, da, da. Like I don't and they're like, you're 23 years old, relax. And I think like that was kind of the wake-up call. One of my good friends, Sterling Hampton the fourth, is a really talented filmmaker, and we were at Sundance this year for his film, and had just turned 29, and I was like, I'm putting all this pressure on myself to get this done now. I'm like,
Yeah.
if I'm doing this now, where will I be in 5 years from now? Where will I be in 10 years from now? Like, I need to just breathe. And I think like as soon as I started to accept that, I was like, oh, cool. I can kind of relax a little bit more in life, which was like perfect timing because I went into doing my feature this year, and that was so hectic and crazy, and actually like almost made me take a full step back from filmmaking. And it was like my directorial debut, first feature. I was like, oh my god, like I actually can't do this. I don't know what to do. This is a little crazy, and I'm scared. I don't know that I know what I'm doing, and I think I really had to like relax and like turning off my phone, taking breaks from social media. I think I used to be a lot more active on social media, and social media is just like not a fun place all the time. And I think people forget very quickly that it's a person behind the content that you consume and love. So they'll say like crazy things. And I think a lot of the stuff I get is like tied to my sexual assault. So that was not very good on my mental health as well. And it was just like, between that and like passing a law and doing my feature, I was like, my head's gonna explode. My head's absolutely gonna explode. And I just kind of had to like, I need to take a step back. I don't really post as much on social media. Does it like tank? It's like definitely affected income and things like that I used to get, like brand deals and like a lot of different stuff lately. But I'm a lot happier, I'd say, and a lot better. I mean, I just also like have to make time to prioritize sleep, rest, food.
Basic necessities.
Literally, like sleep goes out the window for me when I'm working on a project. I was like, part of why I was up last night is technically I went to work yesterday on this other project that I was working, but part of why I was up so late last night is because I came home and I was like, oh my god, I need to get on my grind, and I stayed up like editing my feature doc that I'm directing right now and doing, and I started editing a bunch of stuff, and I was like, oh, I like need to get this done to make this deadline for this festival. And then I like woke up this morning and I was like so tired and drained, and I was like, I don't need to do anything. It can go to that festival next year. It doesn't need to be this year. Like,
so real.
I have time and it's okay. Like I was like trying to rush finishing this film by September so that I could send it off to a festival, a major festival, and like people are gonna watch this year. I knew exactly what she's talking about. Yeah, no. I was trying to send it there, and I was like, oh, it needs to go this year because I've never sent anything off to them, and I should finally send something. No, I literally was like, no, it's okay. It can breathe, like you have time. And I think telling myself that with everything kind of like allows me to just breathe. But I also like don't want to get comfortable. So I still allow myself to apply pressure to myself, but I'm like, I never want to sit in anything and just feel like, oh, like it's okay. I'm now becoming lazy or relaxed with things. So I still allow myself to apply pressure, but it's like you need to take breaks and also understand that you don't have to meet every deadline like right away. Everything doesn't have to happen now. So I think that's kind of how I deal with my mental health and just like allowing myself time to like go surfing or go to the gym and like spend time doing that instead of other stuff. And also like saying no to people. Like I don't like out as much. I like lived very party teenage years. Like I partied enough in life, and I say that, and people are like, 23 years old, how is that possible? I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like I was out as like teenager. I was out. And also like as a young adult, like I was out up until like 21 years old. I was like for me, 15 through 21 was a very like party time for me. And that's enough for one lifetime. And I think like sometimes like people are like, oh, I want to go do that. I'm like, no. I want to stay in bed and I want to stay home and work on something or like watch something. So
yeah. That's so real. I love that. I mean, also you got the partying out of you, so it's like you have it out of your system now.
Yeah, it's like cool. I had this experience and that's it.
Yeah, I love that. I think just saying no to people like comes to even like social stuff. I know like throughout the journey of my own business, like it's been definitely like saying no a lot more to be able to like make sure like I'm like the best version of myself to like show up in my career and like that like it's I feel like it's like a muscle that gets built, you know what I mean? Yeah, like it's never something that is like, okay, I'm just gonna randomly start saying no. Like you have to like because it's hard. You know what I mean? Like especially like what like being like a girl, like it's just like you wanna like it's like there's this like added pressure of like, oh, you should be like nice and stuff, and then it's like no, but I don't I can be kind and I can just like do what is best for me and that's it.
Absolutely. And it's like no is a full sentence. And that's that. I don't like I hate watching women think that they have to overcompensate by like they owe people an explanation. They'll be like, no, sorry, I can't because blah blah blah. Like I'm so sorry. Da, 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 da. And I'm like, you don't owe anyone anything. You could just say no and walk away. Like nobody needs to know what you're going through. Nobody needs, like if you want to if you want to stay inside, like cool. You don't owe anyone anything and you don't owe them an explanation. And I think like there's something so great about getting to see like women around me just be like no because they don't want to do something. And I'm like, cool, that's it. It's that simple. Like I have a lot of male mentors. Most of my mentors are men. And the way they'll like throw out around no or like they're really aggressive with things and nobody bats an eye. And then like the minute any of like my women mentors or like myself is like, no, everyone's like, well, why? Like why did you say it like that? You don't need to be a bitch. It's like
yeah, oh my god. Yeah, that's wild. That's a stark difference, and I'm not a fan of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh my god. No, I mean like no, that's funny. Um I just said that. Yeah. No, it's like you said, it's like it is a full sentence, and I think that it's one of those things that like you have to like rewire your brain to like process that like if I don't want to do something that's it. Like I don't have to be like, oh, but like I'm sick or I'm this. Like no, like but I don't want to do it. Like you don't want, you don't like, I don't know, like that was such a hard thing for me to personally learn. Like, and I had to be like, no, like I don't want to do it. Like, why am I going to that? And it's like, don't.
Absolutely. And I think it's like it definitely takes practice and observation of people, especially women, like seeing other women implementing this practice to be like, oh, okay, that's an option. And I think there is just like that stigma in the back of every woman's mind of like, I don't want to be like, seen as a B word, and like I don't want to be the mean woman. Like I want to be the friendly, charismatic, like everybody likes you, everybody wants to work with you type person. And then like you have that overwhelming fear that if you start putting your foot down or setting boundaries, that people won't see you that way, which is really interesting to me in just to see, and like even my own experiences of like the fact that I thought that was the two are mutually exclusive. So that's so interesting. It's always interesting to have this conversation, kind of see how women are looking at it and approaching, kind of putting the boundary up. And I think it's also just like important for people to know, like, you can say no, and like even we're just like too old, it's so draining. And when you kind of are like, oh cool, I'm gonna agree to something that I don't want to do. Like somebody texted me like a few weekends ago, and they were only in town for that weekend, and they were like, I'm in town this weekend, I'd love to like catch up. And I texted back like, hey, like how's your Sunday? And they were like, what time? And then I was like thinking about it, and I was like, I don't want to catch up with this person. Like it's not even that I don't want to like I don't like this person, I can't stand it. Was more like I just literally am kind of drained right now and like don't have the energy. And then I was like, actually, like, sorry, unfortunately, like I can't do this weekend, but next time please give me a further heads up and we can plan something. But I feel like it's so draining when you like get to a certain point where it's like, okay, cool, like this is actually an exhausting act and I just want my peace.
No, that's so real. I completely resonate with that, truly. Like I think like I've like had like the opposite experience where it's like I didn't like just say like, oh no, I can't. And then like I would say in the past 6 months or 7 months, like I've been just like, you know what, like do I actually want to do that? And then like the answer is typically like no, because if you have to ask yourself that many times, like
yeah.
like the answer is no. Like
I don't want to be here.
Yeah, you don't want to be here. Like even like I don't know, like I feel like that goes with like even like who you have in your inner circle. I think like I was doing a series on Instagram like a couple of like the past like 2 weeks, and it was like, oh, like uplifting your mental health while staying committed to your goals. And like one of them was like the people around you like impact like pretty much everything you do because you're subconsciously impacted by that. And it's like just like I think like just because someone is a good person doesn't mean you have to have them in your life. And I feel like that is like such a blank, like, and it took me a long time to realize that too. Like, like just because they're a good person, they're like doing all like the right things and stuff, like doesn't mean you're obligated to be friends with them and like see them and catch up, like and then like gaslight yourself into thinking like, oh, I need to like be like friends with them and do this, because it's like that's such a common thing that like people like do. Like I've done that so many times. And like I think like yeah, like I think now it's like, okay, well, like I'm like I don't want to, like no.
No, absolutely. I think you're a product of like the 5 people you surround yourself with. That's such a real statement. And I'm the same way. I'm so strongly a believer of that because like I will take breaks from my friend. I'm like, I love you. I'm like here for you. If you need anything, I will listen to you. But I cannot be around a lot of people all the time. Like I am constantly around pretty much like the same 3 people. And everyone else, like people will be like, Sabrina has tons and tons of friends. If I have a party, it's like tons and tons of people. Everyone's
That's
like,
different though.
like no. These are people that I like have value for, but it's not necessarily people I'm like around 24/7 or keep in my circle. And it's always like funny to me because I'll have people tell me like, oh, like I know we're not like as close as like you and so, and I'm like, I'm not as close to that person either. And it's like just kind of funny because it's like this kind of facade image of like cool,
Yeah.
you hang out with this like large group of people, you're always with these people, you probably talk to these people every day. It's like, no, I literally only talk to people who kind of inspire me every day. That I
Yeah.
literally only talk to like 3 people every day. And that is, I'll get like occasional random calls from other friends or like check in on my other friends for sure.
I
But
feel
I can't like surround myself with people who aren't necessarily good for me. And just like, it's no offense to them. It's just like sometimes your paths don't align and you shouldn't necessarily be around certain people because your goals are different and you are not necessarily being your best version of yourself around these people. Like maybe you're falling more into like partying or like more, into different things that you shouldn't. And you kind of have to take a step back and be like, cool, like what do I want to do? What am I doing? And that's
yeah.
okay. And I think like so often we like when you're younger, especially, you kind of force relationships like, cool, like I have to click with this person. And like,
Yeah,
well,
that's true.
just because we're both like good people doesn't mean we have to be friends. We may not have anything more in common than that. And so
Yeah, seriously.
that's like pretty interesting. Like I have a lot of friends that I maybe was friends with because of college who are pretty boy crazy. And it's like that's maybe like I find myself, I'm like, I'm failing the Bechdel test in real life. Like I'm having conversations with friends and we're not talking about anything other than men. And this is a weird friendship. I'm like realizing like that was me last year. I was like, hey, do you notice that we only ever talk about guys? And she was like, oh my God. And I was like, challenge ourselves to not talk about that. Couldn't do it. And I was like, cool. Like, we don't have much in common, like, to talk about. Like, we can only talk about, like, a crush or, like, a dating app or something. And I was like, this is
Yeah.
not necessarily, like, a true friendship once you kind of, like, look a little deeper.
Yeah, no, that's such a good example of like just like the thing you said, like someone being a good person, but like your like interests not aligning. Because like truly, like even you said this a couple minutes ago, but it was about like how like with certain friends, like you might get more into like partying and stuff like that, which like I feel like for like just as a blanket statement, like I don't like you can still party and be ambitious and all of that, but I think like it for me, like I'm such a lightweight A, and so like for me, it's like like being able to be my best self and most productive self and all that. Like it's like I have had to like cut down on like the partying and stuff, and so like I totally resonate with what you're saying because like then when I have friends that are like like in your 20s like everyone's doing such different things and then when you get focused on what you're doing you start noticing how it's like everyone's doing different things you're like okay like well who do I want to like be like
Yeah.
and then like that's when and it's not looking down on someone it's more so just like well like your goals are different like what you're doing is aligned with your goals but like I'm not going to get to my goal if I'm around you and we end up doing this and it's like it's a weird like bittersweet sort of thing I feel like because like you want to like hold on and like keep that close but it's like you said like you can't force things. It's just like if it's not good for you like no matter if the rest of the relationship is like good on paper if that part is like not good then like you don't be in the situation.
For sure. I think that's so important. And I think it's literally like exactly what you said. Like people can be productive and party. Like I have seen it, I've done it, but it's like so important for people to know themselves because just because 5 of your friends can be productive and party doesn't mean you're able to be productive and party. And it's
Yeah.
like if you know that, surrounding yourself in the right situations and environments is so important and the right people who are going to also keep that in mind. I think it's also always interesting like maybe you've expressed this to friends before. I think that's such a good way for young adults to find out like where their friends are, because maybe you're like, oh, I'm trying not to drink as much, or I'm sober right now, and your friends are like, just take a shot, like forcing alcohol
Oh
type
my
thing.
God, yeah.
You're like, no, 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 like it's okay to do that. And they're like, oh, like take a shot to know, well, we're all drinking, so now you need to drink. And it's like you kind of quickly will realize like some people are not necessarily friends. They're kind of just fun. Like they're a fun person. It doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily mean they have your best interest. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're somebody who is aligned with everything that you're trying to do or understanding you and what your needs are, but they're fun. And like maybe you call them, I have like what I call my fun friends, where it's like I'll phone a fun friend if there's like some, maybe like once in a while I'm like, okay, cool, like, I should go out, or like I'll have an
I feel
event or
you.
something, and I'm like, cool, I'm not going to take my serious work friend who's as productive as me and maybe want to go to something like that, but I'll phone a fun friend to like, oh, you know, and it's like, this is how we spend time together. But I wouldn't take that fun friend to like a serious work event or like a serious, you know, like industry mixer thing like that, or like a premiere or something. But I take that fun friend to like a club opening or like a concert, or my friends, you know, DJing or something. It's
Yeah.
cool. You have to know what environments you have different people for. And sometimes it's okay. Like, not everyone, it's very rare that you have many friends who can fit into every single category. Like, you could take that same friend to a work event and to like be a guest at someone else in someone else's house, and to be at a DJing event, and to be at, you know, an industry event, and you know that they know how to behave and adjust accordingly, and you're going to enjoy having a good time with them and also know how to talk to them. I
Yeah.
think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to kind of have a best friend, or like a group
Ooh, yeah.
of best friends. Like, these are my friends that need to go, I go everywhere with them. And then you kind of have these like moments of cattiness and things, and you realize very quickly like that person was never equipped to be in that space.
Yeah.
And I saw this video, I forget who was saying it, it might have been Sierra, or it was Sierra or like Karuchi Tran or someone on Instagram talking about how if you know that someone is not capable of something in a particular area, why do you keep setting them up to fail, in terms of you're putting that expectation on them? So you're kind of the one setting them up to fail. Like, if you know someone is just your party friend, why would you bring them to a work event and then expect them to act accordingly, when it's like, this is somebody who is about doing shots and, you know, taking drugs and EDM, like, you know?
Yeah.
So it was very like, stop setting your friends and people around you up for failure when you know who they are and they've told you who they are. And I think that's really important too.
Yeah, no, that's extremely important. And I would say that, like, that's something that not a lot of people do, you know?
Absolutely.
Like, I think it's like I've definitely struggled with that in the past, where it's like friendships that, like, I've had where it's like I would want that person to be like you said, that best friend sort of thing. But then it's like you realize, like, but we're like this type of best friend, and I have this other friend for this, and I have other friend for this. And like I feel like now, like, as I'm like I just turned 24 a few months ago, and so like it's definitely been something where, like, the friends in my life now, it's exactly what you described, where it's like I have different friends for different things. Like, sure, I have like the 2 to 3 people in my life that like I do talk to like pretty often throughout the week, but it's like it's so like it has to align with like what I'm doing, you know what I mean? Like, because then like it'll like what's the word, catch me off guard, like, in a way where it's like it just that's like the best way to put it, you know? Because it's like I feel like also even just like staying focused, like as like I guess like anal this might sound, like I think it's one of those things where if you are like if you're like trying to pursue something, you're like working towards something, and then like you're like surrounding yourself with people that like are maybe like on a different path, that like they're like do so. For example, if you're trying to like save money, you're trying to like work like a lot, and then you surround yourself with people that are like always partying, or like not even partying, but just like they just have different goals. It's like you're gonna feel like you're like missing out, quote unquote. Whereas like,
Yeah.
but on like you're on your way to achieve your goals, and it's just like different pathways. And I think like that's something that needs to be talked about more too, because it's like that doesn't like I don't know. There's like so many different stages that you have in your life, and like not everyone like there's not this blueprint that's just set up for everyone, and like I think that just like needs to be normalized so much more because we're just fed this narrative like, oh my god, like you should do this and this and you're 20 you do this and better you do this, and it's like no, like it's not like that truly.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that is so important. I think exactly how you phrased it is exactly what it is. And
Yeah.
it's something that comes with, I think, being our age. Like it's literally like when you're a bit younger, like when we're still young, obviously, but it's like, you know what I mean? When you're
Yeah,
like a teenager, you're very like about how do I fit into the world? How
you're
does like
insecure as fuck.
me. And now you're more like, how does the world fit into my life? And you're
Yeah,
more looking at it like, cool, like if I don't want to do something, I don't want to do something. You're like, you don't have parents forcing you to do something. And
yeah,
then that it's like the concept of just independence and finding your own voice and everything. You've kind of slowly had more experiences there at this age. And it's like, cool. Now you know when to speak up, you know how to handle confrontation when it comes to your friend group, you know how to, you know, confront a situation of like, I didn't appreciate this and I also don't have to put up with it. I think like that's where I've been most recently is kind of like, not everything has to be addressed. So like sometimes
yeah,
it's like that simple of cool, if I don't like this situation I'm in or how somebody's treating me, I can literally leave. Like you can walk away. And it's like you have the ability to do so. And I think that's so important that so many people like realize that and like the sooner the better kind of thing. And I think sometimes people get mad at me sometimes. They're like, Sabrina doesn't really like give you a heads up or something. I'm like, well, the heads up was me saying I don't like this. And your response was me saying, okay, I don't need to stay here because you don't understand that I don't like this or why I don't like this, even though I shouldn't have to give you a why if I say I don't like this. It's that simple. And I'm like, cool, like I'm not going to stick around for this. Like I don't have to. We're not stuck in a classroom together. You're not my sibling. We don't live together. You know, it's
yeah,
not like anything like that. So I'm like, why are we putting up with nonsense? Like, why am I putting up with this? I can leave. I can just leave. You can just walk away from situations. And I think as soon as you kind of realize that, you start utilizing it a lot more. And it's kind of so refreshing because I'm like, that's a thing. The world didn't explode. Like, it's okay.
yeah, that part. I love that for you though. I'm so glad that you're doing that because I think like people got to do that more seriously. Like if you don't like something, like you can just leave. Like it's so crazy to think about because it's such a simple concept, but like I feel like so many people are people pleasers. Like I'm a recovering people pleaser myself, and it's like that's like she's like me too. Yeah, it's like when you first start doing it, it feels like the worst thing in the world because like it's like at least for me, like I felt this sense of like guilt almost in the beginning when I would do stuff like that, and then I was like this feels like wrong, but then now like after like having like kind of mastered it in a way, I don't know what that even means, but you know, like I'm like nah, I don't want to deal with this. It's like wow, like this is not that serious, you know, like it's just not that deep. Like that's what it is. It's not that deep.
Exactly that. It's like we have billions of humans on the planet. You're not going to get along with every single one of them. And it's
Yeah.
like, I think exactly what you're talking about of like the mastering it. Like I used to kind of give into it and then I'd feel that guilt. So I'd like go back and just kind of be like, I'd be apologizing to someone who did something wrong to me for like trying to leave the situation. I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like I should have handled that better. It's like, why am I apologizing? You disrespected me. And then now it's like very like, cool, I've got this down. It's not that deep. It's really not that deep. And when people kind of reach out to me afterwards about stuff, I'm like, it's really not that deep. Like, you're not going to connect with everyone, and not every friendship is meant to last your entire life necessarily, and not every person that comes into your life is going to be here forever. Some people are just here to teach you a lesson and then go about their lives, and you go about your life and carry that lesson, and that's it. And it's really as simple as that sometimes, and people don't always end on great terms, but it's not like you're, oh, I hate this person, I hope I never cross their path again. Like, when you leave someone's life necessarily, it's literally just like, cool, like I have to do what's best for me and put my best foot forward.
Yeah. No, seriously. That like it's like having different people in different seasons of your life, because like you're also growing, so to have like to force yourself to like be in these like same exact friendships, relationships throughout your entire life is almost like a disservice to yourself in a way. And especially like going back to what you said about the fact that like you don't need to address everything. I think sometimes, especially for friendships that aren't like not every friendship, especially like as in our like young adult life, it's like not everything is gonna be like this like best friendship that's like you're like super super close. It's like sometimes you can just be like, okay, well we don't vibe like that, you know, or like you're growing and you're in a different wavelength. And I think it's like important to just like take a step back and like, you know, I don't know, like it's like you like it's like you said, it's not that deep. Like you can just like, you know, think about like how that is, and you don't have, it doesn't have to be this big like gruesome conversation like I feel like this. It's like, what if you just don't?
Yeah, no, what if you just don't? It's like, that's simple to me. What if you just don't? Like, what if,
yeah, like what's gonna happen?
it's like the world does not explode when you just stop talking to people and choose peace. Like, I used to be an over explainer. I literally used to be one of those women who's like overcompensating for everything. I would literally be sending like paragraphs and like, and it just like, I felt so bad, and this is how, like, I'm crying to the person. And I'm like, first off, like, for somebody to disrespect you enough to get you to that point of a mindset, they don't respect you at all. So why are you wasting your breath on this person? Second of all,
Seriously.
I'm like, choose your peace. Like, it's just more peaceful, and your brain is more at ease to just like move on from a situation and a person than like to like sit in it and just kind of have to re-explain everything you're feeling, relay all this, and like try and sometimes I'm all for people trying to fix situations. Like, if there's something wrong, like, you know, to address to an extent of like, okay, cool, someone did something that wronged you, maybe they don't know, and this is the first time it's coming up. If it's something that's like, cool, this was just blatantly disrespectful, this was something that you've already expressed bothers you, this is something that, you know, they know you've had issues with in the past that you're talking about, I don't think you owe people an explanation for stuff like that. That's where I'm like, cool, like you can check out. And just people's responses to certain ways of how you bring things up to them will tell you everything you need to know. And after that, you don't owe them another conversation to be like, hey, like I feel like I need a break. Like, you can just take the break. You know, I don't think we need to like announce everything of like, cool, like it's kind of like people on Instagram when they post like the black square and they're like the black
Oh
like
my god, yeah.
taking a break from Instagram. You're like, just go. Like, okay.
Just take the damn break, seriously.
Go. Like, we weren't gonna notice. Like, just go. Thank
Yeah.
you. Announcement. It's like, cool, why are you announcing? And it's like also because you're kind of announcing in hopes that someone will be like, oh my god, what's wrong? Like you like, well, how can I help? So it's like, if you announce to your friend like, oh, I need a break, it's like you're kind of waiting for them to be like, oh, like, what did I do wrong? Like, how can I better the situation? And it's like, if you have to go with manipulation tactics to get someone to do something,
Yeah.
I'm like, that's not a good situation. I think that's like the same thing with relationships. Like, I see those TikTok videos, you've probably seen them all the time, where girls are like, if you like spray the cologne in his like your perfume on his pillowcase or like whatever, like,
Oh yeah, yeah.
like if you text him at this time and like
or
when he's
manifest him.
games on and like his team scores, like he'll think like you're associated with his team scoring. And I'm like, bro, I've never done all this. We'll never do all this. If I have to do all that for a man to like me, something's wrong. Like something is genuinely wrong. That's so much work and it's such a manipulation tactic. Like at that point, he's not even interested in you. He's interested in the idea of whatever you're putting into his brain. He's more invested in all those other things, like those little elements that don't even make you. So it's like I would never want that. And it's kind of the same thing of like when you have to go and kind of manipulate situations for people to kind of show you any form of respect or be there for you, that's not people you want around.
No, seriously, I agree with like everything you just said. Totally. Like, I think that like I'll see so many of those videos. Like I'll literally be like, you know, the share, but you go like not interested. I'm like, I don't want to see this, and it'll be like the other day. Yeah, I saw this video, and it was like, oh, like what to do to get like that guy you have a crush on to like you, and I'm like, you don't have to do anything. You just exist. Like I'm sorry. Like if he likes you and like or like go talk to him. Like that. It's simple as that. Like all this overthinking about getting someone to like. It's like nah. Like and then like they're like, oh well, like he's toxic. It's like yeah. Well like this is how it started. You know.
Like exactly that. Exactly.
Yeah. There's something you said I forgot. It was something you said I like resonated with. You were saying, oh yeah, if you have to like with the break thing, yeah. So like I think that like my opinion on that is I think that in the friendships that like or even relationships that like really matter and like they're working out, like you should be able to have like a conversation and then like it's like you feel like safe enough to like talk to them already where like all this stuff is not even coming up. You know what I mean? Where it's like it's like you're like you feel safe to like speak to them. So you're not even like if something is bothering you, you're like, hey, like I didn't like that. Can we talk about it? That kind of thing. Versus it's like, oh well, like I need a break from this, da da da. Like I don't know, like that's like a lot.
No, absolutely. It's like you'll know too, like people that you feel comfy with enough. It's an issue in the first place if there's a friend that you feel or someone in your life who you're like, I don't even feel comfortable enough to express my feelings to you. That's such an issue in and of itself. And I think so many people don't realize that. Like, I'll have friends who are like in relationships and they're like, I don't know how to, like, he did this thing and like it really upset me and I don't know how to tell him. And like, I can't bring it up because then it's going to start a fight. And I'm like, what? That's not good. So what do you do when you're like upset about something? Oh, like I just keep it to myself. And I'm like, no.
That's horrible, especially in like that relationship situation. It's like this is someone that like if you want kids, like he's gonna be like the father of your kids. You're gonna be like you're like it's so insane. Yeah,
and I'm like also it's like you're just stuck in the relationship and he in his head is like la da 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 la la la. This is a perfect relationship. Not thinking anything's wrong because you haven't said anything. So you're just gonna keep dating this man, like harboring and building up resentment towards this man because you've never expressed anything. And then like also like technically you can't even blame him at that point because it's like he's never heard you say like you don't, you know, he's not heard it voiced.
You don't communicate. Yeah.
To be like, oh, let me fix this thing. So he's just gonna keep doing the same thing and you're gonna be losing your mind. And I'm like, also it's just a problem in the first place that you feel if you bring something up, it's leading to a breakup. That's like crazy. That's absolutely a red flag that you don't feel comfy enough in a relationship to kind of bring something up or express, you know, how something made you feel. And you're worried that it's going to lead to a breakup. And I think especially in cases where it's like a relationship and people do express how they feel, I think that's definitely an area of like, okay, cool. It shouldn't be a situation of just like, what if you just don't? What if you just leave type thing? I think definitely conversation is owed. But after that conversation, like if that is, you're still being disrespected, he's still, you know, he or she is whoever is still doing the same thing. you're feeling like, cool, like this is now leading to a breakup situation, it's like, yeah, you can leave, because it's like that's not a safe space for you to kind of relay your emotions and what you're feeling to someone.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that all your relationships, like the closest ones especially, should be like a safe space. Like I think that's such a big, like, I guess in my 20s thing I've learned. Like your
Yeah.
relationships are supposed to be like a safe space. Like you're not supposed to struggle. Like this is not a struggle zone.
No, definitely. I like that a lot. I think you're not supposed to struggle. And I think that's the thing that too often, like, I think you should definitely, I think this generation is very quick to quit on things. But then also at the same time, it's like, if you are struggling like that, like, it really is like, this is not what love is supposed to be. And I think we watch a lot of movies or things where it's like love seems like it's this great epic like battle, and like there's a lot
No,
of ups and downs. No, actually, like if you're in a good, healthy relationship, it's not that crazy. If you're with the right person, it's like, yeah, there are ups and downs, but it's not like you shouldn't be struggling. Like, facts. It's exactly that. Like, I think younger people definitely need to hear that, because sometimes you're like, oh, but that's just how love is. That's just how relationships are. It's like, is it?
yeah, no, like I seriously, it's not. Like I was rewatching one of my favorite shows, Vampire Diaries, and like
Oh,
if you like I love it and all that, but like when I look at like someone like Damon now, like and now having a healthy perspective in relationships, and I look at some of his interactions with Elena, I'm just like, what the F? Like this is insane that like 15-year-old us was watching this and just like, oh my god, like I want this. Like I know for me, like I was like reading Wattpad, I wanted like the bad boy, like all this stuff, and now I'm like, I just want someone
toxic.
who's nice.
Toxic man, this toxicity. You don't know.
Exactly.
I'm so with you right there. Like, there are so many toxic relationships, and you're like, what the heck? It's like how people love Jade and Beck in Victoria. So then, like, when you
Yeah.
really analyze that relationship, you're like, this is not a good relationship. This is unhealthy. They're super disrespectful towards each other. There's
Yeah.
a lack of communication consistently. There's a lack of boundary. Like, I was like, no.
Yeah, they're both like insane in their own ways. Like Jade like is like a total like jerk to him, and then like
Absolutely.
Beck like secretly likes Tori, and then he's like
Always
doing this
flirting around, like doing
it's
other
just like
things. They're yelling at each other. They're always like, no.
no, no, I'm not a fan of that. Yeah. I think and I think like what you said about like the quitting on something too soon versus like staying. I think it's like that balance, like even when it comes to friendships, because I think like friendship is so important and I think it does deserve conversation, etc. But I think it's like that balance of like, okay, like how is that conversation? Do I feel safe enough to talk about this? Because like I'm a firm believer of like your closest circle should have the same standards of friendship that you have for your relationship, right? Because it's like end of the day, like you're friends with your like boyfriend, girlfriend, partner, whatever, right? Like they're one of your friends. So then like wouldn't you want your actual friends to also like have like the same standard? Like they should be your support system and like be there for you in like the ways that like a friend would. Obviously like a romantic relationship has like different like dynamics and stuff, but still I think it's like I think the standards should be like the same because I think we deserve that level of just friendship. Yeah.
No, I fully agree with all of that. It's so important. Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
love that comparison of like your friend group should be like your significant other. I like that a lot.
Yeah, yeah. It's like it's crazy when you look back on like past friendships though. Like I don't know if you've had this experience, but like turning into someone who's like now more like I guess just like about like self-love and like wanting to like pour into myself for anything else. I think when I look back on like toxic friendships, it's like so funny because you look back and you're like what was that? You know what I mean? It's like I had a friend in like in college and I remember like this person was upset with me, so she didn't speak to me for an entire month without any cue of anything. Never, like, nothing happened, like, and like we were living together. Like, there was like, so my that happened, and I look back on that now, I'm just like, what? Like, what was that?
Yeah, it's like, okay, there's it's like the other side of what if you don't address this? It's like,
Yeah, it's the extreme. No, literally, it's like there's like the normal level of like, okay, like you obviously do stop at certain point. And there's another point where it's like, yeah, I'm just gonna like clock out without like any like just yeah.
Living together is, yeah, no, that's different.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. But we are reaching towards like the end of the podcast episode, and what I like to do towards like the end of each episode is kind of like ask you a question about what you wish you knew when you were younger, and like the audience can get some insight from that. So I'll present the big question. What is something that you wish that you want to leave the audience with that you I just this okay, now we're getting towards the end of the podcast, Sabrina. And by the way, I've loved our conversation. Like, I am vibing out right now. Um, what is something that you wish that you knew when you were younger and that you want to leave our beautiful audience with? Because I know they want to hear from you.
Yeah, something I wish I knew when I was younger. Probably that, you have time to kind of do everything that you want to do, and there is an immense amount of pressure from everybody else. You don't need to also put that same pressure, more pressure on yourself sometimes. And it's okay to just be a kid. I don't think I really got to just be a kid necessarily all the time. Being very involved in entertainment from a young age and like just kind of pursuing everything that I am currently doing. So I think that is what I'd tell my younger self. Yeah.
I love that. I think that's super important. I love it. No, seriously. Well, thank you so much for being on today. I loved our conversation. Also, I like your earrings. For
Thank
those of you
you.
listening with just the audio, she has dope earrings. Check out like our podcast reels to get an idea, but like they're fire. Are they look like super crystally.
Yes, I don't. Yeah.
Sparkly. Yeah, yeah. No, I love it.
Um,
What's
Pardon?
no, your voice cut out. I didn't hear what you
Oh, I
said.
said my mom got them for me.
Oh, that's so cute. I love that. We gotta love moms. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much for being on here. And to our audience, thank you so much for tuning in. We're here 8 a.m. every single Friday, Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and there's also some audio on YouTube. So make sure you check it out. And I'll see you next time. I love you guys. Bye.